Hi everyone, my name is Prince Salamotho. I'm 13 years old and I'm an 8th grader. Today we're going to do a quick lesson review over the periodic table of elements. A lot of you guys may already know a little bit about the periodic table, but this is just a quick video lesson for beginners or people that don't know that much about the periodic table. In our upcoming episode, we're also going to cover the periodic table more in depth, but for now, let's get started. So let's get started by taking a look at this really cool interactive periodic table that I found where we can click on each element as well as the groups listed up top and we can see them at a closer level. So for example, let's start off with hydrogen. Right here we can see a diagram of the atom, as well as over here we have our atomic number, which is also the number in which the atoms are listed, for example 1 hydrogen, 2 helium, and so on. Over here we have our atomic mass, which is measured in AMU, atomic mass units. And then over here we have our electrons. Now electrons are one of the 3 parts that make up an atom, which are our proton, neutron, and electron. And our protons and neutrons are within the nucleus, while our electrons are circling the outside of the nucleus on our electron shell. There's also another type of electron known as valence electrons, which is the total number of electrons that are on the outermost shell from the nucleus. For example, if we take a look at nickel, we can see our atomic number, our total number of electrons. Over here we have 2 as our valence electron number, and we have our atomic mass right here. As we can see, on our outermost ring from the nucleus, we have 1 and 2 electrons, hence why we have 2 valence electrons for this element. If we take a look at the groups that the periodic table is split up to, we can see that we have the alkali metals, which are in orange, the alkaline earth metals in yellow, lanthanoids, which are right here in pink, actinoids in a purplish pink color, transition metals in our red color, which takes place of most of the middle of the periodic table, and it's also the largest group. And now in a usual periodic table, at least that way that we would learn it, we would not have a post-transition metal, as they would just both be part of one transition metals group. Next we have our metalloids right here that make a somewhat staircase structure. We have our non-metals in this green color, our noble gases right here, and then we have our unknown elements right here. Those are all the groups of the periodic table. Another thing about the periodic table is that when we're referring to the periodic table, we refer to them as rows and columns, or we refer to them as periods and groups. A way to remember this is the groups are basically the columns, and periods. We have our columns right here, up and down, and then we have our periods, which is left to right, like this. As of 2021, we have discovered a total of 118 known elements, starting from 1 at hydrogen all the way to 118 at oganesson. Now let's compare the 2 of them to see how they differentiate from one another. If we start over here at hydrogen and we click on it, with its atomic number of 1, it's a really simple diagram because there's only 1 electron circling its ring. And then we have an electron count of 1. And then we have an atomic mass of 1.008. And then we have over here, this is our atomic symbol, which is just a somewhat shorter abbreviation for the element's name. Something that's really interesting that we can observe is that our atomic number and our number of total electrons will be the same, as well as the number of protons within the nucleus. All 3 of those numbers will always be the same. And then a way to remember this is we can use the word APE, which stands for atomic number, protons, and electrons. And we can remember that all 3 of those numbers will always remain the same for most of all elements. Then if we take a look at oganesson at 118 atomic number, we can also conclude that we'll have a total of 118 electrons throughout all of the rings, which you can see right here. And then we can also conclude that the number of protons within the nucleus is also 118. Over here we have our atomic symbol, and then we have a 249 atomic mass. That's all for today's video about the introduction to the periodic table, but I'm sure I'll see a lot of you guys in the next video where we dive deeper into the periodic table and its elements.